Hey everybody, Andy Snitzer here. It's a beautiful day in New York, and I'm dropping by to talk about improvising in general, and specifically over the blues chord progression, the 12 bar blues. Um, this is kind of a fundamental building block in jazz improvising uh, from a harmonic structure point of view, and specifically the 12 bar blues is the base harmonic form for lots of different tunes that you hear in jazz. Lots of different heads have been written over it by many different composers and jazz artists, and it's also woven into rock and not necessarily in the 12 bar form, but uh, it's woven into rock and the blues, of course, and R&B. It's really a fundamental building block kind of idea, and certainly in jazz and improvising, and really in all of music. So anyway, I've got a backing track. It's a 12 bar jazz blues form, so 1 4 5, but with a couple little tricky things thrown in, and I'm going to play over that a bit. And then when I'm done, we'll talk about what I did and how I feel about it, and you know, ideas that I can express to be helpful to you. All right, see you in a minute. So you just heard me take a few choruses over a B flat blues, jazzy version of the blues progression, which is generally 1 4 5, but jazz has a few tricky bits thrown in also. And I'm not going to talk so much about that stuff today. I really want to use this as a vehicle to discuss important broad overview ideas in improvising. Uh, anyway, the blues is a great vehicle for the student of improvising, and that's true whether you're a beginner or you're super advanced, because uh, in contrast to like a standard song form, which may have more complicated harmony, great thing about the blues progression is if you're just getting started and you're familiar with the blues scale on your instrument and you're not familiar with much more in terms of the technical aspects, you can start working on being an improviser. You can just play the blues scale on this whole progression uh, and work on other things that are super important to being a good improviser. It's not just about chords and scales. So um, what you heard from me there, I think, it certainly was complex in some places and less so in others. But what you heard from me, I think, hopefully, demonstrated these core ideas. Let's go through them. The first is time feel. So you hear in that video like my specific way of swinging, my specific way of interacting with a rhythm section and playing time. And whether you're just starting or advanced, this is a super important idea because uh, your harmonic ideas and even your melodic ideas, they're not going to express with real impact and real weight unless the way you deliver them in it from a time frame perspective is really solid and attractive. So um, if you know me as a player, you know that my approach to time is specific. It's part of what you hear in me, and I would argue that all the great improvisers in the history of jazz, uh, it's the same idea. The way they play time is kind of it's identifying to them, and part of what makes them great. That's like Charlie Parker, Stanley Turrentine. It's a great example. Like I could 2 notes, it's him because of the way he plays time. So anyway, if you're just playing the blues scale, and that's what you know. And you're just starting over. You're just starting to be an improviser, and you have a blues backing track. Um, you can work on your time feel. Like you can literally play like some simple figure, one little note, one little pattern, and record yourself doing it, and then listen back, and that'll be illuminating for you without a doubt. Um, so working on your time from the point that you're just beginning to be an improviser is a super important idea. It's a super good idea. Rhythm sections, meaning the people playing behind you while you're improvising, they're much happier if you've got great time feel than if you don't. Um, Other fundamental ideas, melodic development. I hope also what you heard in that example is me telling a story, like kind of playing a little fragment, coming onto a melodic idea, and then you know expounding on that, developing that, and uh, the storytelling aspect of improvising. And this is a little bit of an amorphous idea, but when you start to improvise, when you start to play, so you're moving your fingers around, you're playing notes, you're making stuff up. Like it should all have some basic melodicism to it. You should be trying to tell a melodic story and develop that over the course of your solo. And again, that's true whether you're playing very simply or playing in a very complicated way. So part of the reason that people love Train, it's part of the reason that people love Mike Brecker, uh, irrespective of the incredible complexity of what they did. Um, there was always something melodic about the way they did it, and that is attractive and good in the context of improvising from my point of view. So again, even if you're just starting and you just have the blues scale at your disposal, you can practice telling a story. Start your solo, find a little fragment, build on it, leave spaces. Um, you know, dial in on the idea of communicating a story, not just playing some stuff, right? You're trying to tell a story in your improvised solo. And if you're a fan of this music, you think about it, uh, that aspect of storytelling is what you love. It's part of what you love about the people that you love. They're good at doing that. Their improvised solo is a journey. It's not just a bunch of stuff. It's a journey. It's a start. It's a beginning. It's an end. Cadence. So you can work on those things from very early on in your experimentation with improvising. So time, storytelling. Another super important aspect of all this is your sound. And what I mean is, what do you sound like when you improvise? What does your sound like in the context of a rhythm section playing behind you? And people, again, taping yourself and listening back is super valuable. People don't do it enough. Kind of like hearing your own voice back on a voicemail message. It's illuminating. It's different than you think it is. And in the end, I think you'll agree that the people that you love as improvisers have very identifying sound characteristics and style characteristics. And part of doing this is developing those for yourselves. It can start with imitating the people that you love, imitating your heroes, but eventually it has to coalesce into a collection of items from a sound making and style point of view that sound like you and not somebody else because they're already them. So again, in a way, it's an advanced concept. In another way, it's something that you can work on from the outset. And it's also obviously a function of your ability on your instrument. The better you get, the better you will get at sound making. But I guess my point is this idea of your sound, your own sound. It doesn't have to be a thing that you get to later. Um, you know, at the end of it, at the end, you don't want to have the same alto saxophone sound as everybody else. You want to have a sound that sounds like your sound, and you can begin thinking about that and holding that as an important idea early on in your journey. It doesn't have to wait till you're advanced. So anyway, time, storytelling, sound. These are super important aspects of improvising, all of which have nothing to do with the technical aspects. And even if, like I said, you're just a hold of the blues scale, you're just a hold of some basic tools as an improviser, while you're getting a hold of more advanced tools, you can be thinking about these ideas and they will make you a better improviser immediately. And even more so when you start to get a hold of more advanced harmonic tools and get a hold of more technique on your instrument, etc. So anyway, I'll be back to talk about harmonic details and chords and scales another time, but that's it for today. All right, see you later. Bye.